Tennessee WildCast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. I'm Jason Harmon, and this is your source for all the latest information in Tennessee outdoor news. We're glad y'all are tuning in, and we have Miss Mimi Barnes with us today. She's our Region 3 Information Coordinator, and Mr. Chris Simpson, he's our Wildlife Diversity Coordinator for Region 3.
Hey, glad to be here.
Glad y'all are here. Excited to be on location again here at the Hiwassee Refuge. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be, and in my home county of Meigs County, which is pretty cool. Got some sandhill cranes flying around behind us, which is awesome to watch.
It's a really cool place to visit. I'm glad we're here.
Absolutely.
Today we're going to be talking about all things wildlife, and we've got Mr. Chris with us, and then later we're going to have Kenny and Jeff. They're both technicians here at the Hiwassee Refuge. They're going to come on and talk to us for a little bit. So great show for you today. And first we'll just get started and learn a little bit about Chris. So
yeah, you know, Chris, I say this every time I'm on the show with Jason and we have our coworkers on, but people constantly contact us and say, how can I get your job, or what's your background, or I'm starting out in school, what should I study?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about you, tell us your background, tell us a little bit about your education, and then we want to hear about your job.
All right. Well, a little bit about me is I was born in Clarksville, Tennessee, and then moved to Nashville, grew up in Hermitage on the east side of Nashville, grew up hunting and fishing all over Middle Tennessee and southern Kentucky, and did a lot of hunting as a teenager and in college, specifically waterfowl hunting, and which was great for this job, and which makes this place we're located today one of my favorite places in Region 3. If you like waterfowl or want to see sandhill cranes or even bald eagles, this is the place to be. And so I started college at Middle Tennessee State in Murfreesboro, and then finished up my college at Tennessee Tech in Cookeville in wildlife and fishery science. And as far as my job, as the Region 3 Wildlife Diversity Coordinator, that's a mouthful, but typically you might think of it as the Endangered Species Coordinator, working on all types of projects involving species of greatest conservation need, which includes federally threatened and endangered species, state threatened and endangered species, and even just common species in need of management, in which we're trying to keep species off the endangered species list.
So it's a detailed job, and I know that. My cubicle's next to Chris, so I hear his phone calls and see the work ethic that he has, and like all of our coworkers, it's amazing. But that's not where you started with the agency.
No, in fact, that's exactly right.
A lot of folks move around.
Yes.
Quite a bit.
When I was in college, I volunteered with the fisheries crew, and in fact, that helped me get a job. I started in 1993 in the streams crew in Region 3, in the cold water streams, warm water streams, and stocking trout, working with farm ponds and community lakes, and we did a lot of stream surveys where we went through and inventoried the species or the species diversity in those streams, and helped me really get a jump start for this career that I'm in now.
Yeah. That's most people get a job here. They might start off in one position and they work their way around or into what they truly enjoy.
Yeah.
And are you there?
I'm there. This is great. This is fun. It's fun to go to work, so I'm truly blessed.
I think most people work for the agency say it's fun to go to work. I mean, they enjoy what they do.
It's true.
It can be hard sometimes, and sometimes it's more fun than it is, work sometimes.
Absolutely.
But it's a great place to work.
Great.
So Chris, we recently had David Haney on the show, and we talked about golden eagles and bald eagles with him, but I know you have a little bit of background there, specifically here on the Hiwassee Refuge and in this area.
Yeah.
Let's start off talking a little bit with you about bald eagles.
Which we just saw a few.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, they've been flying around behind us all morning long, so it's a great place to come see them if you've never seen one. But some of the early work that was done when the bald eagles were at their lowest numbers, the state developed a hacking program and a reintroduction program and partnered with American Eagle Foundation and others. But one of my predecessors, Bruce Sanderson, was heavily involved in the bald eagle work here at the Hiwassee Refuge, and just right upstream there was a hacking tower. If you're not familiar with the hacking program, it's where eagle chicks, for example, in this case bald eagle chicks, are put into a artificial nesting structure at about 5 to 7 weeks of age, and they feed those chicks up and let them raise there in that artificial structure. The hope is that they imprint on this area and come back year after year, and we want their chicks to imprint on this area and help reintroduce that bald eagle population into this area. And over the years that this was done, from around 1989 through 1992, over 43 bald eagle chicks were reintroduced into this area from that hacking tower. And so that's one of the reasons, hopefully, that you can come see one here throughout the winter.
Just about any time, seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, just showed up today.
We'll have migratory bald eagles that come through, arrive around November, and then some may even stay all year round.
So there's a chance, I would say, that some of the bald eagles we saw today are the offspring of some of those eagles that were
Great possibility, yeah.
Yeah, I always think that's amazing.
We have a lot of nests in this area, so this is one of the highest bald eagle nest densities in Region 3 around here where the Hiwassee and the Tennessee River come together.
Real quick, back to the hacking tower. Describe one of those towers so people kind of know what you're talking about.
You can Google a picture, but it is typically a lot of several telephone poles put together, about 6 telephone poles, about 40 feet off the ground, and then a big giant box put on top of those telephone poles. It kind of looks like a blind, and it has netting around it. And those birds are on the front of the nesting structure or the platform, and they can oversee the water. And there's a wall that separates them between the person that comes and puts in the food in every day. So they don't really imprint on the people, they imprint on the area. And so when those, like I say, when those chicks get around 12 to 13 weeks of age, they can be released from the front of that tower, and they sail out over the water and imprint in this area on Chickamauga Lake.
So obviously the Hiwassee Refuge in that area had the proper habitat for that.
Absolutely, yeah. They have a tremendous amount of potential to feed in this area, and great habitat for them to live and raise their chicks here throughout the winter.
So the bald eagle's not the only eagle Chris works with. I know, again, I sit next to him.
Absolutely.
But you also have worked on the golden eagle
Absolutely.
project.
The golden eagle, the current golden eagle project is where we feed golden eagles and put out camera traps and try to get the golden eagle on camera traps throughout the winter. And then if we get one coming in pretty regularly, we work with the Golden Eagle working group, and they come down and trap these golden eagles. And what they do is they attach a solar-powered satellite transmitter to the back that downloads the data through cell phone towers. And we're currently tracking several golden eagles that have migrated to Canada, and then currently they're here for the winter. And so luckily we trapped one 2 years ago over in the Sequatchie Valley. We've nicknamed that bird Sequatchie, and currently it's come migrating back south through Tennessee right now.
That's awesome.
And so that's a great project we're involved in. Is how the Hiwassee plays into that. Over the years, there was 37 golden eagles reintroduced through this hacking tower program in this area as well.
Wow. So if folks are in the area this time of year, in the wintertime, they have a better chance of seeing a golden eagle than they would in the middle of summer.
They do. They don't typically nest here. They nest in northern Canada, but they do migrate through here for the winter.
So Chris, if folks see a bald eagle, do you want to know?
The bald eagles have been delisted, so there's getting to be quite a few of them. And we have over 200 successful nests throughout Tennessee right now, so we don't really want the phone calls for just a bald eagle sighting. But if we we are interested in if you find a new bald eagle nest. We kind of currently keep up with the bald eagle nest throughout the state. So that's what would be interested in you giving one of the regional offices a call about a new bald eagle nest you may find.
All right.
All right. You ready to move on, you think?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. State Wildlife Action Grants. Tell us about those and what those are involved.
Well, back around 2001, Congress set up a program to funnel money into the states through State Wildlife Grants program. And so part of that is the overarching program is now popularly known as SWAP, or State Wildlife Action Plan.
Okay.
And each state has to develop a State Wildlife Action Plan to identify threats to wildlife, threats to the environment, come up with action steps to improve habitat for these animals. And so we have several state wildlife grants in Tennessee right now. Some of the ones we're working with, of course, is white nose syndrome spreading across the state. We work with hellbenders, our largest salamander. We're working with green salamanders, other salamander projects. We have a lot of state wildlife grants going on right now through in-house and through organizations and universities that we help coordinate throughout the state.
One of the reasons I think that's important to bring up is folks often ask us where our funding comes from, and it's not always from the sale of hunting and fishing license.
That's true.
Especially for non-game species.
Absolutely. We get a tremendous amount of funding each year through state wildlife grants and through Section 6 funding as well, and Pittman Robertson dollars as well.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's part of your job.
Absolutely. Is help coordinate these projects, and we do some of the monitoring and research ourselves in-house.
So you mentioned a little bit about white nose syndrome. If you would, just touch base on just a few of those things. White nose syndromes in bats.
Absolutely. White nose syndrome was first found in the U.S. around the winter of 2006, 2007 in upstate New York, and it spread down the Appalachians and has been found in Tennessee in 2010. It's still continuing to spread west across the western U.S., but in Tennessee, if you don't know, Tennessee has more caves than any other state. We have over 10,000 caves, so we have a tremendous amount of habitat for bats, and so we have a lot of bats here, so which makes it really detrimental for Tennessee is white nose syndrome can be found throughout over 50 counties in Tennessee now, and so a lot of our caves are white nose syndrome positive, and right now we're currently doing surveys in our caves for federal T&E bat species and documenting the spread of white nose syndrome westward across the state and documenting new counties that have white nose syndrome.
And white nose syndrome can be fatal in bats.
It is. It can be fatal. It's a fungal disease that affects the tissue, and it causes the bats to come out of hibernation or torpor, if you will, a reduced metabolic rate, and they wake up in the wintertime more times a week or month than they normally would, and they try to clean that fungus off their body, and when they do, they're burning their precious fat reserves that they had and just enough of to make it through a normal winter, and so it really affects their metabolism, and up north it's a higher mortality rate than here, but our numbers are still declining due to white nose syndrome.
Yeah, pretty drastically.
Absolutely.
What are some of the other programs that you work on?
Well, one of the current state wildlife grants we've got going on is throughout most of the regions throughout the state is a green salamander grant, where it's a multi-state project, and we're involved with, like I say, with North Carolina, Kentucky, other universities, and we're surveying green salamander habitat, green salamander known occurrences, and finding new green salamander occurrences, and we're trying to establish the knowledge of that species and keep that species from being listed on the threatened and endangered list.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Barry put together a little green salamander video on our Facebook page. So go check that out
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
and see that. That was a pretty cool little trek through the woods there and trying to find those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned white nose syndrome. There's also a disease, fungal disease in snakes.
Absolutely. Going to college, I never in my wildest dreams, I was just talking about that with one of the university professors this week at UT. There's so much wildlife disease work going on now. One of the new diseases to Tennessee that's been found up in the Northeast as well is snake fungal disease. Typically affects snakes, but gets in other animals as well, other herps as well, herps or herpetology, reptiles and amphibians. But it's a fungal disease that enters the laborial pits of the snake and infects the tissue, eventually causes a deformation in the lower jaw of snakes, and they get to where they can't eat. And so it causes those animals to come out of the wintertime, come out of their torpor as well. If you see a snake typically sunning itself in January on a rock, it may be affected by snake fungal disease as well.
So yet another one that you're
Another
keeping
one.
an eye on.
Another one, yeah.
So they're busy.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I thought we might want to hit on too is injured and orphaned animals, and some of the times you probably get a lot of calls on.
Absolutely,
on
I get a
these
lot of calls.
Sick and orphaned and injured, and they may not always be orphaned, but tell us how we deal with that.
Your job is so varied.
Absolutely.
So this is just another part of your job.
It said diverse, right? Diversity. Yes.
I get a
lot of stuff.
Exactly, really diverse, jack of all trades. But I get a lot of calls about sick and injured wildlife, especially birds. And so the agency does not rehab animals on our own. We do not have in-house veterinarians that do this, but we are lucky enough to have individuals around the state, dedicated, compassionate people that have been through some type of veterinarian training with a veterinarian, and develop a facility, typically at their house, in which they care for sick and injured wildlife. And so you can call our office to get one of these phone numbers, or look it up on our website, go to the law enforcement tab, and then go to the wildlife rehab tab. And if you have a injured bird and you want to find one of these rehabbers close to you, you can search by county and find one close to you and give them a call and set up a time to deliver that animal and hopefully care for that animal and hopefully reintroduce that back into the wild.
That's fantastic. So one thing that we wanted to touch base on with you is your job is diverse, is the partnerships that you have throughout the state.
Absolutely.
And how important those partnerships are for you.
Man, it's tremendous. We couldn't do it without our partners. We have very many partners. If I started listing, I'd leave some out. But some of the few, obviously, that I work with is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service here and along the Tennessee River. Of course, we work with Tennessee Valley Authority, and we mentioned the State Wildlife Bank Action Plan and SWIG grants, and the Nature Conservancy was instrumental in helping us fulfill that, reach those goals of the State Wildlife Action Plan that we recently re-updated. I say re-updated. It's due every 10 years. We did it in 2005 and then recently in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, so some days I see Chris with a boat behind his truck. Sometimes I see him with a ladder, and I think he's going down in a cave somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
What other parts of your job would you want to mention that just would stand out for folks if they see you out and about?
Oh, wow, there's no telling. It's varied from day to day, whether it's rehabbing the Osprey Tower, going to check on injured and orphan wildlife, doing wildlife surveys, salamander surveys, just teaching education, school groups, education groups, teaching lab classes at universities. It's a little bit of everything.
Wow. Well, thanks. I'm so glad you're able to be here with us today.
You're welcome.
We gave him short notice for this one.
Yeah. I'm thinking next time we do the show in front of the Bat Cave.
There you go. We can come down and do it. Yeah.
I didn't know we had the most caves.
Yeah, we have over 10,500 K in Tennessee, and so we have a tremendous amount of
cool.
habitat.
More than any state.
More than any other state,
and
yeah.
the most diverse river running through Middle Tennessee.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like
A lot of
it's
creek.
amazing what Tennessee's got.
If you don't know, yeah, Tennessee is the most biologically diverse inland state in North America. We have over 1,400 species in Tennessee, so
Yeah.
it keeps us busy.
That's awesome.
Very
Well, we
busy.
appreciate you being with us today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one of the places Chris has talked about is the Hiwassee Refuge here, so it might be a good time to transition and bring
we've
on
got
the technicians from the Hiwassee Refuge.
Two great guys coming on here, Mr. Kenny Bransfield and Jeff Womack. They do great work out here, and they're going to slide in, and we're going to chat with them and find out what they do here at the Hiwassee Refuge.
Yeah, so while they're getting set up, I'll just say that, I always say I have the best seat in the house. I get to work with great coworkers like Chris and the diversity in his work. And then I get to talk with the technicians and visit them and see what's going on. And both of these men send me photos, kind of keep me updated on what's going on here at the Hiwassee Refuge. And I have to say their job is technician's job is just as varied as every other position in the state.
I know if you've watched our Facebook, you've seen them on a tractor or two driving, and some of the pictures you see, and I like to see those. I like to see the work our guys are doing out here and all the other WMAs and refuges and all that kind of stuff. So let's get started with just a quick background on you guys. What brought y'all to the agency? How did y'all get started working for the agency? We'll start with Jeff.
Well, I just always wanted to work for the agency and finally got the opportunity and jumped on board.
Yeah, so you've been a farmer and a
Yeah,
mechanic and
I
all kinds of
farmed
good
for-
stuff.
I run a dairy farm for 17 years. I worked on it off and on for 17 years and worked at the co-op and just the little odd and end jobs and finally got the opportunity to come. Took 20 years to get hard on, but I finally got here.
You're here.
So, Jeff, you mentioned that someone taught you mechanical skills and engine building skills in your background, too, that have come into play here at the refuge.
Yeah, in dairy business and everything, you do all the mechanic work and painting crops and stuff, so it's a win-win situation for both parties to stay in me, because having the knowledge of being able to do it all, being able to do it and everything, so.
Kenny, tell us a little bit about your background. There's some similarities there, we know.
Just like Jeff, I'd waited over 20 years to get opportunity to be employed by the state. When I was a kid, I just daydreamed about being a game warden. Wanted to be a game warden. Well, things change in life, and I ended up going down I was a welder, certified Boilermaker, and worked at that for years and did taxidermy, and also went to work for the railroad, and then finally got the opportunity to come here and leap at the chance. Had some farming background experience and some heavy operating heavy equipment and that sort of thing. So it's worked out very well working here because of the diversity of the day for things that you do different from one day to the next. And Jeff, he's a master at mechanics and that sort of thing, so we play off one another.
And that skill set.
Yeah.
It's one thing that I'm so proud of my coworkers, and that their skill sets are so varied. But you need all those. Tell us a little bit, if you would, about all the different types of work that go into maintaining the refuge.
Well, we as Kenny said, it varies from day to day. We may be tearing a beaver dam out this morning and maybe putting in a tile somewhere for the afternoon, so there's just a lot of diversity that goes on. It's during the spring and summertime, we're planting different crops.
How big's the refuge?
The whole refuge is 2,500 acres.
And about how many acres are in cropland that you manage?
Well, here on this part of the refuge, we farm around 300 to 400 acres total. It's just between planting wheat and stuff in the fall. So.
What different crops go in, and is it for birds? What's it for?
We plant the corn and stuff. It's for all the waterfowl, mainly the corn is, but we got milo and millet. We plant it, and we plant wheat and stuff, and all in the fall of the year for the deers and stuff. Which our corn seems like the deers have been getting a lot of it. So.
Sunflowers too.
Yeah.
Do you find that the sandhills like the corn or the millet, or what's their favorite?
Well, a few years ago when we started planting the sunflowers, we found out that they love sunflowers.
Oh, wow.
And everything, so
the refuge is known, we didn't mention it, but the refuge is known for sandhill cranes,
Yep.
especially in the winter months, overwintering months.
Yeah.
And it can be filled with thousands of cranes.
yes, yeah. And right now it's the time of the year for them. Our numbers goes up and down from day to day. It's hard to predict what's going to be here from day to day, but.
Yep.
So there is an area of the refuge that's open to the general public. Tell us about that area and what folks can expect if they come to the refuge for a visit.
It's the viewing area. It's right behind us. We can't hardly see it right here, but there's a gazebo here, and there's a viewing area, and they can expect to see a wide array of different birds and wildlife. You may stand right here and look out and see 300 or 400 ducks, some sandhill cranes, might be a big white-tailed buck come through, maybe some turkeys.
I think I seen the turkeys this morning when I got here.
Very cool.
There's really no telling what you will see here from just this one point.
And that viewing area is open year-round.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's a really nice little area. You can't leave that area, but it is open to the public, which sometimes our areas are not. But I think that's a special feature of the Hiwassee Refuge.
That's the thing that November the 15th through March the 1st, it is closed and everything. The refuge, as far as getting on the refuge itself, but you can come to the observation platform and look. But then after March the 1st, you can get out and walk on the refuge. We do allow that. So.
Okay, cool.
And then I get to join them at different times of the year. Tell us a little bit about some of the different hunts that do take place here. So I specifically was thinking of the dove hunt for kids.
Well, we have the adult dove hunt and everything. We have it every year. And then we have a juvenile dove hunt. Then we have a juvenile deer hunt. And then we have an open hunt for bow and arrow. And then a couple muzzleload hunts and drought hunts on them.
And hopefully that helps with some of that deer depredation that you get on those.
We also have a rabbit season also. We have about a 15-day window where they can rabbit hunt.
We started
here.
that a couple of years ago also.
Oh, has that been successful?
Yes.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
All that information's in our guide,
Yes.
tnwildlife.org. If you don't have a hard copy, you can get that on our website, and all those dates and everything should be in there, so y'all can. People who are watching might want to come out here and enjoy some of those opportunities. They can be found there. But there's also there's a lot of trapping goes on out here, right? At least the trappers in this area use it for training and that kind of thing.
They do.
Classes
they have
and stuff.
a training period here that I think is usually around March that they'll set up and have a 2 or 3 day event here. It gives new trappers an avenue to where they can learn more about trapping, and that's one of the things that we do need is we need more trappers.
Kind of a lost art.
It is.
You know, people don't know a whole lot about that these days. You could find more information on that too on our website, the Trapper Ed and that kind of stuff going on. But I know those guys here at the Hiwassee, or is it the Chattanooga chapter or
it's a Tennessee
Fur
Harvester Association.
So they do their little training out here, and that's a great group to learn more about.
So I know both of you have been with the agency for a different number of years, but what has surprised you? What have you learned about the agency? Kenny, we'll start with you since you started. What's surprised you?
Well, it's a very small, I just didn't understand how small the opportunity is to become an employee with this agency, because it's not as, when I think about the TWRA, I think about how big it is in your life, especially if you're a hunter and a fisherman. But, I waited a long time to get the opportunity to come to work here, and it's just a really family-oriented, tight group, and people just don't leave those kind of positions. And so I was really amazed to see how everybody kind of works with between waterfowl and wildlife, and then you have the fisheries departments and you have the law enforcement, but they're all intertwined and they know each other and how they work, work together.
So Kenny came up and joined us at the Fall Creek Falls hunt. For veterans or for Hero Hunts, Inc. that helps us with that. And Kenny came up and guided during that time. And Jeff and I have met on goose roundups. So their background is highly varied. You heard welding and electrical work and mechanical work. And so when people ask us about what they can do to become a TWR employee, that's it.
Yeah.
Keep gaining those skill sets and be diligent about applying and volunteering with us.
Get to be friends with the TWRA guys. That helps you some too. So.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty friendly.
Get to know your local wildlife officer. Get to know your WMA managers and chat with them, and they love to help you out. Get to know your technicians.
That's true. They're wonderful, huh?
Yeah, they are. I appreciate everything y'all do for the Hiwassee and all the technicians around the state. They do a great job, and Jeff and I worked together at the co-op there for a little while.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Known Jeff for a little while, so it's great to see you again, Jeff. And,
Good seeing you.
We appreciate y'all being on the show. Anything you want to add before we close today?
Everybody get out and enjoy hunting and fishing in the state of Tennessee.
All right, there you heard it. You heard it here. Get out and enjoy the outdoors. Remember, tnwildlife.org is a great place to stay connected, and always keep following us on social media. So, Mimi, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.